What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the garage. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new machine I have gotten in. This is the YesWelder Flux135 Pro. I do want to start off by saying they did send this to me at no charge for the purpose of doing a video and review. However, as always, my opinion is going to be unbiased. We'll take a look at the machine, walk through some of the features, do a few welds, and then I'll give you some thoughts and opinions at the end, as always. So let's take a look at the machine itself. As the name implies, this is a flux-only machine when it comes to wire fed. There's no gas option here. It will also stick weld, and it will do lift TIG. If you want to do lift TIG, you will have to buy those leads separately. They are not included with this machine. And actually, I was kind of surprised, but not in a bad way, about what was included with this machine. It's very minimal. It gets you going with just what's necessary for the machine. You don't have those throwaway welding hammer brush combos, any cheap gloves, or like the hold up welding masks. So nice to see that you're not paying for that stuff you're not going to use. Now, this does come with the electrode holder for stick welding, so you'll get that in the box. The only other things included with this machine are your flux core lead here, and then your ground lead, and a couple tips for the torch here, and that's about it. So ready to go. Like I said, this machine will handle 0.030 and 0.035 wire when it comes to flux core, capable of both of those. The wheel inside, which I'll give you a close-up of, is dual-sided, so you just flip it over for a different size wire. And all of that is housed in this hinged door here with a little latch. Your spool goes in here, which it will only hold 2-pound spools or 4-inch diameter spools. Pretty typical of a flux-only machine. And then, of course, your drive assembly is inside here as well. On the front here, you've got a very nice display we'll turn on and take a look at in a second. And then you've got just a couple buttons and a knob, and that's it. But the display is very nice and bright. Everything's very easy to use. Your settings are all there, very easy to get to and navigate. No issues when it comes to that. So some of the things I've already liked about this particular machine are, number one, the length of this lead for the flux core wire is 8 feet long, which is longer than a lot of the flux core machines out there. And then your ground clamp and your electrode holder are both 7 feet. So plenty of length there for most situations when you're using a machine like this. Not a big deal to move this around. This machine is only about 11 pounds without a spool in it, about 15 inches deep, just under 8.5 inches tall, and then about 6 inches wide. That's not including the handle here, but very compact and lightweight machine, all things considered. I have used this flux core machine for a couple emergency repairs, kind of. I had a hinge break the day that this came in on our chicken coop, so I went out and welded that because it was just riveted in from the factory, so I welded the hinge on. And then just recently I used this to repair a cut in my wife's exhaust. I had to cut a clamp off and ended up going a little too deep and got through the pipe, so I welded that up before I made the repair, and it handled all of that just fine, and everything was very simple, straightforward. The long lead made it great underneath the car. I could have the machine, far enough away to not be in the way, but still get to where I needed to weld underneath there. So let's do things a little bit different this time around. Let's talk price before we get to some of the welding stuff here. And the price of this machine currently on Amazon is about $129.99, and I'll put some affiliate links below for you guys for Amazon and YesWelder. Not a bad price considering that it will do flux core, stick, and can do lift TIG if you decide to go that route. So all things considered, I think it's priced very well, especially for the performance you get from this machine. I do want to note that on this machine, it's set up more like a true MIG machine where you are adjusting your wire feed speed, and the machine is compensating for that setting versus having an amperage knob or something along those lines like some of the other machines have. You're actually adjusting the wire feed speed. It's adjusting for that setting, and then you can fine-tune your voltage if necessary with an offset option we'll take a look at. So definitely like the way this is set up as far as the adjustments go. And then, of course, when you get into the stick side of things or the TIG side of things, you are, in fact, adjusting amperage. So let's move on to the menu here real quick, and then we'll get to some welds. Alright, so the power switch is on the back, of course, so we'll flip that on and it'll fire up here. As you can see, very nice bright display. That's even with this light shining on that screen. Very easy to read. Over here you've got your mode buttons. That's going to switch you through your different welding types. You got stick, of course, amperage adjustment there. You've got your lift TIG, and again, amperage adjustment. And then you've got your flux core here, and this box will move with your settings. And this is what I'm talking about. You adjust your inches per minute for feed speed, and that is all on this machine. And then of course you've got this nice little dial indicator on the edge here as well to kind of tell you where you're at visually, other than the numbers. This diameter button is just there to change your wire size, and if you go into stick, that is off and not available. Same with the lift TIG, so that only functions in the flux mode. Over here you've got a feed wire to just feed it without having to actually weld here. Parameter adjustment here is where you do that voltage offset I was talking about earlier. So that is there if you need it. You can go negative or positive 3 volts in either direction. This parameter button in stick mode is also where you're going to get your arc force as well as your hot start, so you can adjust that with the knob. And then in TIG, I don't believe there is anything there. No, you don't have anything there for the lift TIG. I forgot to mention earlier, your flux core lead is fixed for all intents and purposes. I'm sure you could get it out of here, but it is not meant to be just removed. That is fixed. And then you've got your ground clamp and flux core. Typically you would want a positive ground, and then most of your stick electrodes are going to be just fine set up this way. So you would plug your electrode holder into the negative. But of course you can reverse those two if necessary. Alright, on this side of the machine you have your hinge door here. There is a little latch, and you'll open that up. You've got your wire spool holder here. This is just a thumb screw to get this on and off. And then over here you've got your wire feed mechanism, and this is a knob to adjust the tension you have on the wire here. This flips down in order to open this up. This is just an idler pulley up here, or bearing. And then down here you've got your feed wheel, and this is double-sided, so you've got .030 on one side, which is what is in here now, so that makes that the closer groove in this roller, and then the back one there is the .035. To get this out, all you do is a quarter turn on this knob here, and it pulls out. You just flip it over and put it back on, and then put your nut back on there. I can't do it because I got the wire in here right now, so you'll just have to believe me on that one, but it's very straightforward, very simple to do. And then you would just put this back down and close her back up. Then you can adjust the tension. You may need to adjust it slightly when you open this and tighten it back down. Now we've taken an in-depth look at the machine, kind of seen how it works. Let's do a couple welds. I'm going to keep these relatively simple. I'm just going to use some scrap for this. I was going to stick weld outside with this machine because I have a mower deck that has a couple cracks that need to be repaired. However, it's raining right now and I'm not going to be able to do that, so I'm just going to use some scrap to stick weld as well. We'll do a video maybe just on mower deck repair in the future because it's something I'm going to have to do for this tractor I am putting back together. I'm going to do the flux core first, and then we'll switch over to the stick weld, and then we'll take a look at them at the end. Flux core, as I've said, I have .030 wire in here. That's what I'm going to use. And then I've also got some 6013 rods I'm going to use just for this demonstration. Alright, so I did some flux core welding and that went perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever. Turned out pretty good, other than I started and stopped a couple times where I had tacked the two pieces together, but we'll get a close-up here in a minute. The stick welding was also fine as far as the machine went. I did end up switching from the 3/32 rods I was going to use, just because I did use them and it didn't go that well because those rods were very, very old. So I switched to some 1/8 inch 6013 that I just bought a week or two ago. They worked much, much better. But I did end up using the 3/32 and then I went back over it with an 1/8 inch rod. So it's a little more proud than it should be, but I mean, this thing's going to weld better than I can and probably as good as anyone else could weld. I did end up bumping the hot start and the arc force up just a hair when I was using the 3/32 just to get them to at least keep going and start easier. But other than that, no issues whatsoever. So we'll take a closer look at these. Here's the flux core. I did not grind this at all. I just wire brushed it, so it turned out pretty decent. There's a couple small spots here where there could be a little more material left, but that's where I was starting and stopping. Overall, completely happy with that, especially for things here in the garage, so no issues there whatsoever. All right, so you can see this end here is a little proud. This is much, much better over here. But overall, like I said, no issues whatsoever with the machine, totally on me and the rods I was starting with. Went to some new rods and got some decent welds here, even if they are a little proud because I went over the previous welds with those older rods. All right, so now that we've seen the welds here, what do I think about this machine? First of all, I really appreciate the length of the leads on this machine. I know in this video I've used it here just at the table, but as I said, I've used it outside a few times for some kind of emergency or like on the spot repairs. Having that length, even if it's only an extra foot or two, is super, super nice. It makes it very, very easy just to get where you need to be while keeping the machine out of your way. Second thing is there are some more advanced features like the hot start and arc force, and then you can offset the voltage compared to what the machine calculates, which is nice as you advance or get into certain situations, but you also don't have to use them as long as your welds are coming out good. So you do have options there without being overly complicated. I do like the expandability as far as being able to stick weld with this machine, and also if you wanted to get into TIG welding, you could get a set of lift TIG leads and hoses. The only downside that I really found with this machine is these buttons can be a little difficult with gloves on, these two over here specifically, because the knobs here and they're kind of in the corners. If the gloves are a little too big, it can be hard to get to them with your glove on. And the final thought on this machine that is going to sound kind of silly or unimportant is just the overall appearance and package that this is. I really appreciate the black housing. I have two other machines on my welding cart. One is a YesWelder machine, one is not. Both of those are lighter in color and have either white or gray in addition to some other colors. The white and gray shows dust, dirt, soot, slag marks, all kinds of stuff, and just gets dirty looking very quickly. So I appreciate the black housing, and that's not to say you shouldn't clean your machines and keep dust and dirt out of them. And just it's a nice looking machine, doesn't look clunky, has some features. The screen's fantastic, as well as the display around the knob. And everything is very positive and clicky. The knob has notches in it, you can feel it. Everything on this is of good or great quality for the price point, and I think it's a fantastic package for somebody new to welding, or if you're looking for a machine you can carry around, take outside. That's what I'm going to be doing with this. It is 110 only, so a 220 option would be nice, but also not necessary for a machine like this in most cases. So not going to ding it for that, but I am going to be using this as like the around the house, yard, cars, need to weld outside without having to drag a bigger machine out. And it's fantastic for that, as well as doing stuff in the garage if you're going to be doing any flux core welding or stick welding. So definitely check this out. Like I said, $129.99 I think is what it's at on Amazon now. Regular price I think was marked at $199. I've seen it some other places for around $180. I'll put some links and a coupon code I believe I have for YesWelder in the description below. They're going to be affiliate links just so you know, but they're going to be there. You can check this machine out if you're interested in it or want to know more about it. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate YesWelder sending this out to review, and I look forward to using this quite a bit more in the future. And like I said, I'm going to be probably welding that lawnmower deck up with this in the future as well, so I'll try to record that and just show that repair as well as some more stick welding with this machine here.